Hey everyone, welcome back to Talent Skill Tree. This is going to be episode 3. So, episode 3 in my new channel and new podcast. And I'm super excited because I'm sure you can see this familiar face. And for those who don't know, Amir has been a great friend of mine coming into the video game industry. And so, it is an absolute pleasure to be in the presence of Amir Satvat, and I hope I'm saying that correctly in the last name because I never get to say your last name. Am I saying your last name correctly?
You said it nearly perfectly, just Satvat. It's even more flat than people think it is. Amir Satvat. Perfect.
Amir Satvat. Amir, thank you. I really am so excited for you being on the show here. Welcome.
Thank you, Justin. No, back at you. We've done so many fun things together, from LinkedIn audio events to chatting, sharing each other's posts, and I'm just thinking of this as just another great conversation between two friends. So thank you so much.
It really is, right? It's kind of
Yeah.
like that experience. And this is actually the first time we actually seen each other through video. It's true. We've seen each other's pictures. We've seen each other LinkedIn posts. And
That's
we've done
true.
audio events, which I kind of wish that when we did the audio event that we kind of saw each other when we're doing the audio event. But this is cool too. So I appreciate
Yeah,
you
me
being
too.
on.
Don't you? I wish they blew out the videos into like boxes. It would be a little bit richer than the little circles, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
No.
we'll get there. But
Yeah.
again, the pleasure is all mine here, and thank you for coming on the show. So, just to recap of what the show is all about, I made this show and channel because of the skill tree name, and it's all about leveling up. And if you've seen my LinkedIn posts, it's all about leveling up, how to get a competitive edge in this current tough market that we're in, and then also talking about my passion, which is video games. And so, Amir, you have been a champion, pioneer. You have been the pinnacle voice, and as far as symbolism in our gaming industry. And I want to talk about how we first met. And so when we first started posting on LinkedIn, we would kind of comment on each other's posts or like each other's posts. And the one thing that stuck out with me is that you reached out to me via message on LinkedIn and said, "Hey, just want to let you know, I keep track of people who like my posts and comment. And I just want to let you know, I checked out your page. I think you're a very cool person to keep up with and connect with. Let's stay in touch." That for me was so genuine, so sincere. And as a recruiter, we were kind of talking about this before the call here today, is that, I get hundreds of messages every day. And so when you strike my attention, that says something, and ever since then, we've been keeping up with each other, right? And so you've been a pioneer and a champion in our community. So I want to get into that here, Amir. Can you tell everyone just a little bit about your background? I know you're a lifelong gamer, and how are you the champion, so to speak, in the video games industry?
Well, thank you for your really kind words, Justin. So what I would say briefly about me, and I know you've heard me say parts of this before, but I hope it gives hope to some people who think, oh, if you want to make it professionally in games, you have to have done it for, 15 years in like one specific function. Certainly not true for me. My background started in finance, actually, and in investment banking in New York. After that, I was in school for a while. And then for probably, the next 10 years after that, it's a little bit more of an explainable career path. I've been in tech and at times health tech, in mostly business development strategy and at times operations. But the story for me is, despite the fact that from the age of, 3, I was obsessed with games, had played thousands of games in my life, know many friends in games, because of one factor, location, I couldn't work in the industry. I live in the Northeast in Connecticut, as you know. There were never many jobs there, certainly not many jobs there, 15, 20 years ago when I was coming out of school. And everyone
Right.
would say, oh, Amir, we have jobs in California and Seattle and so forth, but I couldn't move. And so what I told myself is, hang in there, Amir, just keep working. And finally, at the age of, 36, 37, through an internal transfer at Amazon, I cracked through professionally in our Prime game business and then at Amazon Games. But the other side of my life, as you know, which I had been on LinkedIn for a number of years, but this really only took off full force as of last year. Last
Mm-hmm.
year, at about the end of the summer, about a little bit before Thanksgiving time, late October, early November, the big layoffs that you and I have seen in the industry that have been so tough for all of us hadn't really taken full force. But some colleagues had started to be laid off and were losing jobs. And this just rubbed me the wrong way. It was before Thanksgiving time. And I was like, what kind of situation is this for this person to have to go to their family and say, I lost my job and so forth? And I said to my partner, Jess, this is unacceptable. We have to do something about this. And so originally, I started out with one resource, with which a games jobs directory with about 50 companies. Over time, that's grown to over 700 companies and over 13,000 jobs that are categorized by function that people can see. We have a mentor network of nearly 400 people that anyone can write for 30 minutes of consultation. We have over 60 people, 70 people, I believe now, who just do LinkedIn CV and profile reviews. We have a list that people can put themselves on to be found by job seekers and other career tools. And so I've tried to use this to make sure that anybody who was in a position like me, where they were trying to break through but didn't have maybe the help that they wanted, no one has to feel like they're going it alone.
Absolutely. I know the audience and community members appreciate all the resources, all the links, all the support that you have given to them. I've seen many comments before. I even give you referrals from time to time saying, hey, check out Amir's resources. And here's the thing about it that most people don't understand. They may think there's a hidden agenda behind these resources that have been, and you guys just heard it here first. Through chaos comes innovation. Through chaos comes support, the helping hands. And I love that Mr. Rogers quote. I don't know if you remember this quote here, Amir, but growing up, Mr. Rogers would ask his mom all the time, why do we watch the news when all we see is bad stuff, right? And so a lot of times people can get in that mode of blinders on, and all they see is just negativity. All they see is just chaos. And really, it's just a flip of the switch. You hear that cliche all the time. There's always, if you look at something differently in rose-colored glasses, or just in even a different perspective, or just a different lighting, it will transform into something completely new. And so Mr. Rogers mentioned his mom said, well, you're focusing on the wrong stuff. And if you focus on the news and why I watch it, I actually pay attention to the helpers. And that stuck with me throughout, after high school, college, you name it. Focus on the helpers. If you're focusing on the fires and the robbers and the gunshots, yeah, that's right in front of you. But you also don't notice the people in the background, the first line responders coming out there helping with the jaws of life. And that shift in mentality has been super helpful for me. So going back to what Amir has been doing for the community, most people don't realize is that he is doing this out of his own goodnesses of heart, because this is his passion. He's a lifelong gamer, and you can see it bleed through in his posts when he talks, and how passionate he is in helping the video games community. So I just got to commend yourself again here, Amir. You have been a strong asset, a helper, so to speak, in our community. Does that kind of sum it up?
No, that it does, and it's very generous. But no, you're right. And I think the point is, Justin, and you know this, like, look, the games industry has a lot of things, like many industries, to work on. We can talk about issues of like diversity, issues of workplace comfort, issues of like, unfortunately, harassment, crunch. Like, there are, of course, lots of things to work on. I'm not blind to any of those things. I know you're not blind to any of those things. But another part of this as well was my confidence in the gamers that I knew that, pick some number that you want, 90, 95% plus. Most of the gamers that I knew were really good people who wanted to help other people. And one thing that I always tell people is, you've kind of highlighted one part, which is I have no financial incentive. I don't get anything from any of this. I get the satisfaction of seeing people be happy and get the outcomes and dreams they wanted. But the flip side of that is, I'm also not doing anything like complicated, right? This isn't Chat GPT, right? I don't have some complex engine. The Excel that I do for the job stuff is a little complicated with some of the scraping and the tools, but that's a kind of fun aside. But my point is, most of the stuff that we do, from identifying the companies from the workbook to having mentors sign up, et cetera, these are all the most boring analog things that you could have done 60 years ago. I'm just someone who's tried to get in front of it and bring everybody together. But the credit for this isn't Amir. The credit for this is the hundreds and hundreds of people, including yourself, who said, I'm giving my time to help. And so, like, that's my point. Anything that you say, oh, Amir this, Amir that, I'm just shining a mirror to the games community. And this is the games community helping other people in the games community. So I want people to understand that when they're like, oh, what are people in the games industry like? That's what people in the games industry are like. We're just shining a mirror to it.
Well, Amir is humble, as you guys can see, but he should definitely take the credit. I appreciate you being humble, but you absolutely should take the credit here, Amir. Let's talk about the gaming community. You mentioned this before, and I want to piggyback off of that. You know, where personally for you seen the uptick last year. Personally for me, I seen the uptick last year, and that's because that's when I joined an actual video game company last year. But I've talked about this with many people before, and it's kind of funny that you mentioned this. Like, this stuff is archaic. You know, video games have been around forever. We're actually in the classical museums now, like the Nintendo Entertainment Systems. And I'm like, the Nintendo system's really ancient now. It's actually considered a museum piece.
Yeah.
It blows my mind, but you're right. Archaic stuff. So video games has been around, and we're not doing anything new. You know, we're not reinventing the wheel, but honestly, talking to other industry experts and community members, people are still trying to grasp and understand and get onto the video games community. And it blows my mind. You have big companies that are not even tapped into the video games company. You know, they may do their advertising, they may reach out to the streamers network, but they don't realize we're big on platforms like LinkedIn, and they don't realize that there's a strong community out there, and it's building and growing. And we're part of that. Amir, you're part of that, myself included, but we're growing that. And it's like we're transported back in time where Blockbuster came out, and we're just trying to build this community. And it's so funny, and it's just now happening. People probably can blame it on COVID. People can probably blame it on, well, they don't see video games as a business or revenue or mainstream. You can blame it on many different factors, but the point is, Amir, is that we are lucky to experience this growth, this transformation in our space, because now people are actually coming up to us and saying, hey, we like what you're doing. I didn't realize there was a LinkedIn community. You know, can you sponsor, or can we partnership, or can you talk to my students? Can you do seminars? And I'm getting a lot of Amir and I were just talking about this before. I'm getting a lot of those opportunities, which I'm very thankful. And I do want to say a disclaimer. I don't knock anyone. You know, you don't have to be like an angel like Amir, be perfect and do this of the goodness of your heart. But there are people out there too who are doing this from the side hustle, or at night, or freelancing to help out the community as well. Whatever you're doing, whether it's freelancing, helping out, you get paid for your time. And I always tell people, you should always get paid for your time, because time is money. That's the most valuable thing on earth. Whether you're doing it freelancing or on your goodness of your time, you're helping our community grow. And so, Amir, I want to touch base on that and kind of ask you, knowing the landscape of the community that we're in now, what challenges, what do you think we need to do better? How can we improve? How can we transform better for all the sponsorship companies out there who are maybe checking out our small video? What are some tips that you can give out there?
Yeah, no, it's really interesting, Justin. I want to try to maybe establish a relationship here. You know how earlier you said, and I remember that moment too, how when we first met, I had taken the time to reach out to you, and I had been, persistent and patient. And I know you talking about this to people with job seeking all the time. Don't be transactional. Build a relationship. Take your time. I think that we have to realize that for a lot of people who feel like they've been outside the tent of games, it's not something bad or nefarious or intentional. I remind people that my father, for example, my father was already 40 when the Nintendo Entertainment System came out. So the point is, the last generation just didn't have these things when they were growing up. And so I think part of it is a familiarity thing and trying to put yourself in other people's shoes, that the same way that they may find something like VR or AR inaccessible, they may feel that way about games, even though to you and me, maybe that might seem funny, but it is not funny to them. I think a second piece is trying to constantly remind people what games are and what a gamer looks like. Part of this is the different types of stats, but part of it is helping people have a visualization. We talk about some of these things like how games is bigger than, movies and music industry combined. We talk to people sometimes about, you can talk to them about how IP is now universal. You'll have like The Witcher and you'll have the show, and then you'll have like a board game, and then you'll have the video game. And now it's like, well, didn't you like that show? Well, there's a game you can play that's like that. I talk to people about how the traditional like PC console games that are kind of the bread and butter that you and I grew up with, like, World of Warcraft and Diablo and so forth. There was just recently, this last week, Dean Takahashi at GamesBeat was taking apart the PwC report that, if I remember off the top of my head, was saying that like 70 to 80% of the revenue in games is not from that PC console world that most people think of as games. It's all from mobile and for casual. And so, like, when that same person, my father, for example, is playing his word games on his phone, he's a gamer. But if you go to most people and you're like, you play Wordle, you're a gamer, that's not games. Well, I think it very much is games. And the Times would tell you that they never said for how much, but they bought Wordle for, we know a few $1 million or something like that. And it's the biggest acquisition engine they've ever had for their business. So these are like a few pathways, but I think it's just being patient. And as you've seen with my channel, and I know, again, you do the same thing. I think all of us who love the industry do this. Part of it is like the personnel recruiting stuff of helping other people. But the other half is this constant education about the industry. Like everything I post has a purpose. I may put some fun poll about like, are you going to buy this game? Or what's the most you've ever spent on a game in microtransactions? Or how many games did you buy this year? Everything has a purpose. One part is just a fun poll for the community. But the other thing that I'm doing at the same time is I'm normalizing for someone who may not play video games at all, that did you look at this poll? 60% of the people who participated bought more than 20 games this year, or whatever the number ends up being. So like, don't think this is like the tired, stupid, forgive me, stereotypes of like a person in their basement who has like no life and whatever. I mean, I think those stereotypes were tired like 5 to 10 years, 20 years ago anyway, but I know I'm going a little long, but it's just that. I think it's chipping away at these things one day at a time with all these different tools.
Yeah, you hit it right on the head. And I think the term you were looking for was neckbeards.
Yeah.
There are streamers who actually make a living off of that persona. But again, that's the beautiful thing about it, right? Is you can be that persona. You can be someone like your persona. You can have people who don't even realize that they are gamers. And I think you hit the nail on the head with that one.
We're all intent. I have people come to me in LinkedIn and they'll be like almost like apologetic. They'll be like, Amir, I saw that you played like 70 games last year. And I'm like, yes, I did. And they're like, well, the only thing I play all year is Apex. Like, should I feel bad about that? I'm like, are you crazy? No. Play whatever you want. Like if you want to play like solitaire all day, like, like my grandmother used to, like you're a gamer too. So like everybody's under the tent. You just find your own flavor,
Yeah, you definitely do find your own flavor, and I love how you curate your posts and you put the spin on the video games. I do the same thing as well. I try to make sure my posts are somehow video games related. So it is a small marathon that we're doing here, step by step, gaining traction, and we're seeing it. I've seen a lot of success now that people are actually like Jake Lucky, I don't know if I know that you said that you're only on certain socials, not all the socials, but he's huge on Twitter, right? And he covers esports and he covers just honestly drama from the video game companies, whether a person loses a deal, game is a deal, he covers that. But he's big on Twitter, and I just seen him come to LinkedIn, and he said, "Hey guys, I didn't even know you guys existed. I'm here on LinkedIn." And so that's the beautiful thing about it. I think it's slowly coming together, and it's so mind-boggling when I talk to people about this. They're like, well, Justin, video games have been around forever. They made movies about this. I'm like, yeah, I understand, but they kind of like a fad. They kind of treat it like a gimmick. And I hate to say this too, there's a lot of cliches out there too. It's like, oh, if you're, you have to be a neckbeard to be a gamer, you have to be a male to be a gamer. But now there are female streamers that are killing it, and I love seeing them slay in esports and influencers. I remember my sister personally growing up kicking my butt in Mortal Kombat. The stereotypes are there, but we're getting over those stereotypes. And so that's the beautiful thing about our community. That's the reason why I wanted to bring you on our show here, Amir, is because you are the pinnacle. You are the champion of the gaming people. You know, like The Rock. You know how The Rock is the people's champion? Well, you're their people's video game champion. Honestly,
Thank
I gotta
you.
say.
Thank you.
I know we're running out of time here, and again, we're kind of last minute. This is kind of like you said, two people having a beer over chat, and I want to talk more about you with you on and get your thoughts on, you know, what video games you're looking for, what video games you're currently experiencing. So I do want to leave two things while we end the show here. One is, let's ask you now, and we'll save another chat for another time where we can talk more and dig into more of your video games, picking your brain. What game do you think is the most or that you're most anticipated looking for? I know that you already said Zelda, so you can't say that anymore. Okay. What game are you looking forward to now is the first question. And then the second question, just like in my LinkedIn audio events, I love to leave inspiring, positive messages. Is there something that you can say to the community as of right now in our current job market that's a positive and inspiring message?
Definitely. So the first one that you said, I'm going to go kind of outside the box. Like, to your point, you and I know, Justin, what are the big ones that we all need to get through and play, right? There's the Tears of the Kingdom. There's, like, you know, Final Fantasy 16. There's Street Fighter. There's, of course, Diablo 4, which I'm playing a lot of. But I'm going to go outside the box and go actually to my background for Super Mario Brothers Wonder. It's coming out in October, and people will be like, Amir, you're excited about a 2D platformer? But I really am. And the reason I'm really excited about it is, you know, there's an interesting and healthy debate within the games community. And what a lot of people talk about is, when I grew up, I was born in the early 1980s, you had games like the Mario games and platformers, which were for everybody of all ages and types, but were definitely more accessible games for gamers who hadn't played anything before. Part of that was that they needed to be, because the games market had crashed and a lot of people had never seen games before. But part of it was also because of the technical specifications. The range of what they could imagine and put on the screen was more limited in some cases. I am really excited to see that on the strength of the Mario movie, Nintendo continues to have the confidence, even with a game like Super Mario Maker, where you can make nearly any 2D level that you can fathom yourself. They have the confidence to put forward a full budget AAA 2D game and to say, we are confident that people will love this in 2023. I think it's important because I think it's a great genre. I think Mario and the franchise is very important for games, but I also think it gives younger gamers, or maybe less experienced gamers, and older and more experienced ones as well, but it also gives that specific audience things that they can enjoy. And I can say, as a parent now with, now 3 kids, I also think about that a lot, which is like, when my kids are a few years older, how many titles do I have that I can put in front of them as like a 6 or 7-year-old? The same way my dad sat me down at 4 or 5, and my mom, and they could feel good about putting a piece of entertainment in front of me that was child appropriate and also challenging and fun. So I feel really excited about that title. But also, of course,
can I stop you right there?
Please.
I think you brought up a good point about nostalgia. And that is such a trend coming back right now. Simplicity is key. With the most popular video game or mobile game is Vampire
Survivor?
Vampire Survivor, right?
Yeah.
So very pixelated. But we grew up with that type of game, right?
Yeah.
We grew up with those pixels. And it's mind-boggling seeing Gen Z get so excited playing Vampire Survivor. And it's mind-boggling to see Gen Z wants to wear 80s fashion. It's mind-boggling to see Gen Z wants to do the stuff that we did as kids. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the arcade game, came out. We thought it was like the best thing since sliced bread. And then here they are bringing it out on Netflix, on Steam, with a Shredder's Revenge, same graphics,
100%.
same type of gameplay. But Gen Z and the newer generations are really loving it. And so I think you hit that right on the head. And
you put it perfectly. And for everything that you just added there, which I think really made the point come together, it's like, I think 2D Mario is like the top of that stack because it's like the original. So when they announced that today, I had wanted to see, as you know, I'm obsessed with Zelda and Wind Waker and whatever, but I was so excited when they announced this, and the remake of the Super Mario RPG, I immediately was just so happy. But I do have to say, and I'm not just saying this, I do want to double down that I'm not just saying this because you're my dear friend at Blizzard. Like, I am desperately, especially because, again, of those 3 kids, I haven't had nearly as much time to play D4 as I wanted to. So
Oh yeah, don't
every
worry.
minute I can
Neither
find, I'm trying to squirrel away. But
don't worry. Neither do I. I told my colleagues that today. They're like, "Hey, are you level 100 yet?" I'm like, "I'm nowhere near. I don't have time to play that game."
yeah, no, but the other part you said, Justin, about saying something uplifting. I mean, look, what I can say is I have never felt more confident that people who want to find jobs in the broader world with a capital W of games can make that happen if they're patient and persistent. And the reason I say that is a few things. I could go the boring, like, technocratic route, which is because of all the job resources that you and I started the conversation talking about. I think that things are bottoming it out and the worst of the cuts and stuff like that is ending. I think in terms of the industry and the evolution of things, to kind of tie together actually our whole conversation today, I do believe that that education and bringing everybody in is going to work, and games are only going to continue to grow. They're going to become cross-media IPs, and they're just going to become massive franchises. And so I think that if you go into wanting to get one of those jobs with an open mind, and you're not just like, oh, I have to be, again, picking a job at random, I have to be like a producer on like X AAA franchise or I failed. But instead, your attitude is, I want to be in the world of games, whether that's like working on a show related to a game I like, whether it's working on the game itself, whether it's being in like esports, whether it's being anywhere along that chain. I think if you go in with that open mind, those number of jobs are only going to grow and grow and grow. And like, I would not bet against games eventually taking over even TV content and film content. I mean, it's already bigger than film content, but streaming content is the only media thing left that's bigger than games. I would not bet against games becoming the largest media industry in the world. So that's in it right there.
All right, that's and such a uplifting and positive message to end my new show and my new channel. And Amir, I am absolutely honored for you to be part of the launch. So by the time you're seeing this video, that means I launched it. But as of right now, it hasn't been publicly launched. And so I wanted Amir, if there was anyone that I can think of to be part of the launch, it was going to be Amir, because he's been such a huge resource and champion of the community. And Amir, can you just tell everyone how to find those resources? Where can they find you at? And how can they connect with you to reach out to you?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. So everybody, I love to add as many friends as I can in the games community and help as many of you as possible. To find me, either you can just go to LinkedIn and search for my name, Amir, last name Satvat, SAT as in Tom, V as in Victor, AT, or you can just go to my address, linkedin.com/I, all one word, Amir Satvat, and you'll find me right there.
Fantastic. All right, Amir. I know you got to get going to work. Same here as well, but it's always been a pleasure. Thanks again, everyone, for watching my new show, Talent Skill Tree. Be sure to be on the lookout for more guests, and hopefully Amir will come back again. We can talk more shop about the video game industry.
Anytime.
And I always like to end with the show. The world could always use more heroes. Happy leveling up out there, everyone. Take care.